right now I want to talk with you about compliance and architecture. Okay, we talk in compliance, which means does the patient take the medicine? And we talk in architecture in, yes, architecture, how does actually a house or a room in a house need to look like in order to be able for the patient to comply to what the physician basically has told him. As I said, that might be thought-provoking what I'm talking about, and this is actually what I want you to do. I want you to come back to me and tell me, yeah, you're right or you're wrong, which is even better, because I want my thought to be put in jeopardy by your thoughts. The idea of the healthcare futurists is that innovation, and we're all about innovation in healthcare, that innovation comes from the Latin word for passion. Passion, probably familiar with the German word Leidenschaft, which means you need to suffer, but then you create something. So innovation doesn't come from throwing big money at intelligent people and asking them to come up with a new idea. It's you need to suffer, and then you create something new. So it's creative. It's also being amazed and being puzzled about what's going on in your world. So it's magic. It's evolutionary because you need to rub shoulders with people you probably don't share your opinion. It's radical. And it comes as a price. Many people I encounter tell me innovation is good, as for me everything stays the same as it used to be. This is not innovation. Innovation is dramatic. It's task-oriented, and it's, at the end of the day, necessary. So I am not here to sell you anything. I'm not a consultant that can be booked. I'm here to give you impulses and maybe to cooperate on major projects with you. And so I want to upthink and not rethink healthcare and transdisciplinarity. You are the experts. You are architects. I'm not an architect. I don't know too much about architecture. I want to talk with you about the world I'm coming from and the things that connect us. And it's the customer experience that's in the focus. Probably, I hope you can see that. And it's hard to guess what this is, but if you take a closer look, this is a keyhole in an old castle. So this was used for people who at the end of their lives probably had crumpled fingers and couldn't hold the key and could not find the keyhole. So what we're doing today is pretty much the same as they did a couple of hundred years ago. We're using key cards for doors to open for people that have a kind of impediment or disability in order to open doors. This is what I want to do. I want to take you on a journey. This is a cruise here in sea level. Let's see whether it has to stay on sea level or not. So there are three factors that cause innovation. One is technology. So it's a technology interface. Everybody in the medicine part is talking about quantified self, episode mining, data-driven medicine, big data. The main issues is regulation and self-inflicted through governments. So the medicine market is a really highly regulated market. It's an ethical market. You just can't sell anything as you want to sell an iPhone. It's a different market. The result is we're now looking at democratization of medicine. We've been looking at medical devices and gadgets today. These things collect data, and these data can be used and should be used, of course. So patients know more about their diseases than they used to do before. What they do is they ask Dr. Google, because Dr. Google gives the first opinion, and maybe the doctor around the corner gives the second opinion. And the takeaway is the conventional healthcare industry is pretty short on ideas, because everybody is used to do what they used to be doing the last couple of years. The other part is politics. So we look at politics in the bureaucratic interface. And we heard that today. It's the economic crisis. Everybody from bureaucracy talks about economic crisis. The glass is half empty, not half full. The main issue is we have diverse healthcare systems all across Europe. In the major European countries, they have about 11 different healthcare systems, which run 11 different regulations, payer-driven, some of them, and player-shaped markets. So patients want to gear up and have their own right. And the name to remember is your independent general practitioner around the corner. He might become superfluous in a couple of years because you want to ask Dr. Google before, and you want to ask some artificial intelligence before you see a physician around the corner. And the public sector is notoriously broke. So probably don't count on the public sector, as we just heard in the conversation before that. And the last one is the customer. The customer walks about life, looks in the loophole, and complains, hey, what's going on here? So the human interface. And the buzzword, I like the German word because it's international now, it's Zeitgeist. So what does it all mean? Where do we come from? It's a demographic change that we've been talking about, and it's angst, something that just renders you immobile. You don't know what to do. The result is a lifestyle and conviction. So people lead their own lifestyles. And who's in the main focus of their attention? It's the name to remember. It's me, myself, and I. So the takeaway, the average patient in consumer healthcare is pretty short in insights and empowerment because there's still the information asymmetry. But there's money to spend. That's the good news. So if we now look, what do they all share? What do they all have in common? It's compliance. They all look in compliance. In Germany, we waste 18 billion euros a year for medication that's not been taken or not been taken properly. So we all look at compliance, and I want to take you in this journey through compliance. What does compliance mean? Why is the compliance problem not being fixed? Because all partners in the healthcare system look at it from a different angle. This is Big Pharma. Big Pharma looks at compliance because it wants patients to take more medicine. If they take more medicine, their revenue is higher. So this is what gears them up. The physician looks at the patient and tells him, well, I want you to take the medicine because I want you to have the best outcomes. So this is the physician's point. The pharmacy is, well, you know, the more you take, the more I sell. The more I sell, the higher my revenue is. Okay? And the caregiver, the one who's giving or taking care of the patients, does the patient take the medication? Does it have any side effects? How can I tackle these side effects? And then there's the sick fund. The sick fund wants evidence. Yeah, does the patient really take the drug? And what's the outcome of the drug? So there's the academia, which is outcomes research. Do we really pay for what we get? Does the drug really do what it's supposed to do? We don't know, because we don't know the patient. We don't know whether the patient really takes the drug or not. And then there's the EU government saying, well, you know what, we are just giving money away for drugs that we know are effective, that have phase 4 studies. And there aren't any phase 4 studies in the world beyond the evidence class of myth. And I can tell that because I've been working for Big Pharma. So the industry is now asked to provide evidences beyond mythology. And the problem why the compliance conundrum has not been solved right now is because somebody in the middle is lacking. Everybody is looking at compliance from his or her own perspective. There's nobody to fill up the chain, which makes sense because you don't make money with filling the chain. You don't necessarily sell more products. You don't necessarily have more patients on the payroll. But it's evidence that we generate, and it's a better life for everybody. Now, this was the medical part of it. Now let's try to reframe the story I was telling you. I like reframing because this is when interdisciplinarity comes in, if the computer allows me to do so. There we go. So this is reframing. Now, realms of salvation. Now and then, where do we seek salvation? In the old days, this was where we got salvation. Today, this is it. Well, reasons to bend our knees. In the old days, we were bending our knees to the face of God. Today, we're bending our knees to ourselves, to our longevity, because obviously we don't really believe in a life ever after, or not everybody does. So how do we actually stay in sync? In the old days, it was the Bible. In the new days, it's the iPhone. That is what we spend most time for. Now, the places of architecture and technology refinement. I'm coming from Cologne, so obviously I had to use the Dome of Cologne. So this is what they did in the old days. What do they do in the new days? This is the University Hospital of Aachen. So we build cathedrals. We build clinics instead of cathedrals. So this is probably what we're going to leave for our children when they grow older. Now, the question is, the place to worship. This is a small chapel in a castle that rich people could afford. Now, which would probably be the place to worship right now? It's the bathroom. Because ultimately, you worship yourself. This is the temple of well-being, as we would say in Germany. This is where you do good things to yourself. This is where you shave yourself, where you put ointments on your skin, and so forth. So let's have a closer look at the architecture. And I love history. And so I took a look at the triptychon, the shrine or the altar of the chapel. And it resembles pretty much what we see in the bathroom. On the left-hand side, it's his side. On the right-hand side, it's her side. In the middle, this is, yeah, that's the space we're still fighting about. So let's have a closer look at the I triptychon, or the I shrine, as I like to say. And I'm pushing hard. Okay. So what we are doing right now is we're developing a technology, and this is pretty much all already existing, to implement what you know from your iPhone and your iPad in the mirror of the bathroom door or of the bathroom cupboard. So this can be a fully featured connection hub in your bathroom. And what you can do is you can sync all your self data of your quantified self there. So you can have the information of your blood pressure. You can have the information of your scales there, which regulates your weight. You can transfer this to a physician. You can transfer this to a pharmacy, because ultimately, at the end of the day, what we want to do is, through facial recognition, and this is possible. This is a slide from facial recognition run where an avatar does a psychotherapy session with a person sitting on the other end of Skype through a facial recognition. So you can do facial recognition, which is as thorough and as good as a thumbprint. So you make sure the drug is being taken by the right person. And we already have technology in Microsoft Xboxes that pretty much resemble yourself. So you see an avatar on your screen, and the technology follows up with you what you do. So it's pretty easy to follow up whether you're really taking the drug or not. So we don't need to tag pills with detectors that react once they hit the stomach and the stomach acid to give a sound or whatever. We will be able to see whether patients take their drugs. If they take their drugs and throw them away, this is probably an act of criminal things, because then you really want to beat the system and you're not just too lazy to take your drugs. So what we are doing is right now, we are developing a thing we call Pill Bill, which is a working title. This is a machine that dispenses drugs to you at the right point in time. You get the right drugs, the right point in time. It gives you the light, you get a light flash, you get a sound that now it's time to take your drug. And you can apply this for the whole family. So we're using, in a way, the cultural shrine of worship from the old days, where people used to worship their God, to the worship of yourself. And it's going to be a healthcare cockpit, the wellness temple, the I shrine, where compliance happens, and where we have the interface through the whole chain that I showed you. And I like this horizontal integration, the service value chain, beginning at the pharmaceutical industry, going through with the vertical, the historical part of architecture. Where is the place to worship yourself? Where do you cleanse yourself and your soul? That could probably be the bathroom. And I've been looking around here, and I think there's been given high attention to the bathrooms, but maybe this could be another point for improvement. And I'm giving this openly away to you because I know a pharmaceutical industry or a single person, a single company can never do this. This can only be achieved if we work together. This can only be achieved if we raise European money, which is what I'm doing right now. Because this is a European project from south of Sicily to south of Sweden, from Poland to Portugal. We have the same problems. We're wasting money, we're wasting lifetime of patients because we're not paying attention to what they're really up to and what they're really doing if it comes to a medical perspective. And I know that might be far-fetched and might be a future of the days coming, but flying or dreaming is sometimes just a question of perspective if you look at that slide. And I'm about to end. These are consortium partners, so I'm not a dreamer. And even though, as Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, yes, I do have this dream, I'm working together with these people here. And I love to work together with somebody, with a consortium of Prof, or with some people here in the audience. I'd be happy to talk to you and take your questions afterward. And yes, we're now collecting EU money from Horizon 2020 and from the FAST lane of innovation. And I started with taking you on a journey, and I'm going over this real quick. These are the questions my daughters ask me all the time. The journey, the question is, does a cruise always have to set out on sea level? Probably not. And you've got the answers, we've got the questions. Thank you very much.